Hello friends, and welcome once again to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers. Today we're taking a look at the Takara Legends EX Black Convoy, also known as Nemesis Convoy or Nemesis Prime, and also known as Scourge, I guess, based on random stuff I was able to find while searching for this figure. So yeah, goes by several names, basically Bad Guy Prime, and this is based off of the Reveal the Shield Prime, which is like the G2 Laser Prime Generations thing. I don't know. Like I've said in the past, I don't really keep up on all that stuff. I just think the figures look cool. But anyway, I'm just going to go with Nemesis Prime for the rest of the video because that's just easier for me to remember. It's a decent looking truck. I do have some issues, but I think overall this truck mode looks stronger than the default Laser Prime, if that's what his name actually is. I don't know. Because, like, the mold looked interesting, but I hated the color scheme of the default Prime because it was just so blocky and seemingly random. There was no cohesion to, like, where the colors were placed or anything like that, whereas this guy, it works a lot better because it's pretty much just black with a little bit of this, like, pinkish color here and then a little bit of this metallic turquoise and some silver. It's a much simpler color scheme, and the layout works much better because you just got primarily black with like just details painted up, as opposed to the official, well, this is official, but you know what I mean, the original version of the mold, which was Prime, which is like this really weird assortment of blocks of color kind of all over the truck cab, which looked really bad. But we're not talking about that figure, we're talking about this figure, and this figure it's good. My problem with this is I don't know if it's just because of the age of the figure, or if there's some kind of weird QC stuff going on, or if I'm just not transforming it correctly. But I mean, I've looked up videos and stuff, and as far as I know, I'm doing it right. But like, the truck mode just doesn't hold together that well. Like, the front part does just fine, but like back here, these wheels, like you can see it's pressed up against this too much, but like I can't really bring it back any further much better, and this kind of section here keeps wanting to bow down a little bit, and it's just ugh. And then like these wheels are too loose and it's yeah, I'm not a huge fan of how this truck mode comes together, and like I said, I'm not sure if it's just mine or if it's a problem that's sort of prevalent throughout the line, but it's a shame. Mechanical issues aside though, this actually does look good. I always love it when they paint the rims, and these are all painted silver, which is great. And then some nice silver detail on the grille there and the fender. Some painted headlights. There's even a little bit of paint on the sides there for the vents. And then, of course, that metallic blue detailing throughout, which also looks good. Even up here, they've got like the individual lights painted up and the smokestacks. And there's a lot of unpainted plastic on this guy, but like the bits that are unpainted, it actually makes sense for them to be unpainted. It works. And this is a paint scheme that I can absolutely get behind. Even back here, there's like that, whatever that texture is called for like the grippy metal surfaces. Yeah, there's some nice detail in here. And because it's not one huge mess of garish colors, it's actually easier to note these details. I mean, that's black plastic, so it's a little difficult to see in certain lighting conditions, but still, it's a good looking truck overall. My only real issue, aside from the, you know, physical aspects of it, are these windows here and how these are painted this like reddish pinkish color, as opposed to being either see-through like the front windshield or having the front windshield be painted like this. I mean, I know why this is clear, because of the transformation. When these come together, they form like a matrix that you can kind of see inside there. I personally feel like that's a complete waste, and they really didn't need to do that, because they always have to do a matrix with a Prime figure, and it's like, we get it, the matrix, fine. But I don't really like how official and third-party companies like to go out of their way to do things that sometimes make one or two modes of the figure weaker because they have to get a matrix in there. It's just, it's irritating. And I feel like if they didn't do the matrix gimmick here, then, you know, these could either be painted or these could be clear, and everything would be just better. Because I mean, it's better here than it is on the original Prime figure, because like here the colors are at least somewhat close, but it's still a bit not good looking. Yeah, I don't know. But I've got weird hang-ups on figures, apparently. Anyway, moving right along to the size comparisons. There we've got Nemesis Prime with a Power of the Primes Deluxe and the Amiibo there. And you can see that, well, it's about deluxe size, because he is a deluxe figure, which is kind of the point. And if we turn them looking at each other there, you can also see it's like Slug is a little bit bigger, kind of, but not really, just because of the way his whole body curls up into a potato. Yeah, they're about the same size because, you know, again, they're both deluxes. So yeah, the truck for Nemesis Prime here looks good overall. It's just the minor mechanical things and the window thing that bugs me. The one thing I do really like about this mold is the fact that the sword actually not only stores in vehicle mode, but actually creates part of the vehicle. I love it when figures do that, because it's so nice to just not have to worry about storage. Like it incorporates into the vehicle mode, and it's, I guess, not technically seamless, but it's pretty darn hidden in there. And I'm just gonna take it out real quick before we start the transformation proper. Just to wedge that out there, because like you can see, without it, it's still a cohesive truck without it, but that hitch detail does add a fair bit to it. And then, you know, hitch, just pull that out and push that back and swing it around. There we go. And now it's a sword. That's a pretty effective transformation for a trailer hitch becoming a sword, I gotta say. It does kind of suck that it's got these pegs coming off of it, but you know, it's all for the sake of it storing solidly in the vehicle mode so it doesn't like flop out or anything like that. Anyway, that is that, and so let's do the robot mode thing. Nemesis Prime's robot mode I feel much more positively about. And I actually think this is a pretty interesting contrast to the Grand Viacon General from last week's video, where there, the alt mode was the stronger of the two modes because the robot mode is completely unpainted, and here, the robot mode is the stronger of the two modes, not because of a lack of paint, but just because it looks cooler and actually doesn't have some annoying engineering issues. Yeah, this is entirely why I wanted this figure. This looks really, 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 really cool. The colors are great, and it's pretty much everything that you get in the truck mode, where you've got that metallic blue, some of that pinkish red, black, silver. The only real, I guess, new color is this gray plastic here and there, which is fine. I mean, I'm fine with them adding a bit more of a different color to the robot mode because it's the robot mode, but there's still the same other color cues to kind of tie it into that vehicle mode. And I mean, this guy is full of lots of little details that are really cool. Like just lots of little mechanical bits and wiring up in the shoulder chunks there. And like this, it's hard to tell, but these bits in here are actually translucent plastic, so it can light pipe a little bit. Got some nice little nondescript details in the biceps there. These panels on the inside have a little bit of detail. And they hang down and are a little bit annoying, but they don't hang down as far as I thought they would, so they don't really get that much in the way. They painted the fingers, which is great. Like, I like that kind of fingerless glove look, and here they, yeah, they painted his fingers. They didn't have to do it, but they did it, and it looks great. Like, the torso looks really cool, where you've got the truck cab Like a little bit of that blue kind of tying it all together. And his mechanical washboard abs. And there you can kind of almost see the matrix in there, which is molded on the insides of those window pieces as they fold in, they come together. And it's a neat little trick, but it doesn't work that well. And it just seems like an unnecessary thing that they sacrificed a bit for. And, some more detail and paint down along the legs. And yeah, it's just a really cool looking, nicely detailed robot. The face is very much Optimus Prime with an evil streak. And it's also full of that little pinkish light piping stuff. And a little bit of that metallic blue and some silver as well. And as far as I understand, I haven't done any direct comparisons, but I think this is the same head sculpt that the original G2 Prime Reveal the Shield figure had. And it just works so much better as an evil Prime here because it's got so many spiky bits on it and lots of harsh angles. It absolutely oozes nastiness. This is sort of like if Optimus Prime merged with Sauron from Lord of the Rings or something. It's a nice head sculpt. And I really like the shape of the robot mode too. Like this, it's got a very kind of nicely proportioned humanoid shape overall. And then just these really enormous shoulders, which, as I've said in the past on more than one occasion, I dig the giant shoulder look. So I'm definitely into this. So it's a great silhouette, and I think I would have enjoyed it as the G2 Prime, but this color scheme really makes the figure work in ways that I think the G2 version just doesn't. It's even got wrists that can angle a little bit, so you can do that cool kind of angling the sword down, being badass kind of pose. What can I say? I have a soft spot for figures that can look really cool just standing in a stock position. Don't get me wrong, I like dynamic posing, but there's something to be said for a figure that you can just put on a shelf in a standing pose and make like subtle adjustments to their stance to make them look intimidating and cool. Anyway, let's move Nemesis Prime off to the side here and adjust the camera because we've got some size comparisons to do. And here he is with the Amiibo and the most disappointing Power of the Primes figure that I own. And I didn't actually do a side-by-side comparison before doing this video, so this is the first time I'm seeing this, and I'm genuinely surprised to see that Slug is not quite a head taller, but just about a head taller than Nemesis Prime here. I really expected them to both be almost the same height. So I guess here you go, anyone who complains about the figures getting smaller. I don't know. I've got no horse in that race, but yeah, he's deluxe size, surprisingly a little bit shorter. At the same time, he looks significantly cooler than... Yeah. And I know, I keep picking on Slug without actually talking about why I dislike him so much. That's just kind of waiting for when I get all of the Dinobots together, and I'm still waiting to get my hands on Sludge and Snarl. But I will get to it, I promise. In the meantime, Nemesis Prime here is fantastic. I've got my issues with the truck mode, and some parts of the transformation are a little bit fiddly, primarily getting these wheels in the legs adjusted, but it's an incredibly striking looking figure. But anyway, that has been Takara Legends EX Black Convoy, also known as Nemesis Prime, also known as Scourge, and this is just a lovely figure. So what do you all think? If you have the G2 Laser Prime, is this something that you'd like to get your hands on eventually, or are you happy with what you got? And I'm also curious to know how this guy stacks up with Scourge, because I know that there is a Scourge figure out there that was, I think it was a Collector's Club repaint or something like that. I don't really remember off the top of my head all the specifics, but I am curious how this guy stacks up to Scourge. Just off the top of my head, I don't think there's much in the way of a difference. But I'm good with this. This is the only this is the only version of the mold that I really want. And I've heard that a lot of people really love this mold, so by all means, if you are a fan, let me know about that too, because I certainly am. It's just it's a shame about some of the transformation issues, and I'm still kind of bummed about this gimmick that doesn't quite work. It may work better with Prime because his windows are a different color, but you don't really see the Matrix with Nemesis Prime here. Whatever your thoughts, please feel free to let me know down in the comments. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And while you're at it, also feel free to like or subscribe. Any combination of those three things would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.